Hello everybody, this is the video of our trip to Big Bend for dual sport trip, February 24th, 27th, 2011. Alan Jackson, James Dunn, and myself, Cecil, went to Big Bend, the area, stayed in Terlingua for the Around the Bend ride, dual sport ride. In the Big Bend area, Big Bend Ranch, Big Bend National Park, Big Bend State Park, and other areas, wherever anybody wanted to ride. Anyway, hope you enjoy it. This is a table of contents. We're going to have the maps and the overview first, the still pictures and narrative, then the video, and then some recap and maybe some more information. On Thursday morning, Al and I left China Spring about 4 o'clock in the morning, went out west on 84 to Goldthwaite, down to San Saba, out to Brady, Menard, stopped for gas in El Dorado, and went on to Ira Ann, stopped in Ira Ann, and Alan wanted to check on some old friends of his that used to live in the area and own property there. And then we went on to Fort Stockton, gassed up there, and then headed on down to Alpine on Highway 67. Then at Alpine we ate lunch there, and then went on down to Study Butte in the Terlingua area, and offloaded the bikes, sort of set up camp, and then went for about a 2-3 hour ride after that up on the Terlingua Ranch, which is just north of Highway 170, Study Butte, Terlingua, Lajitas area. Anyway, we're going to give you a brief recap of the rides we went on Thursday. This is the Terlingua Ranch area. As you can see, it's on the map maybe. The line down, the sort of unstraight line down the right side of the map is Highway 118 coming from Alpine down to Study Butte and on over to the west at Terlingua and Lajitas. The line, the sort of orange line, about 3/4 of the way towards the left of the page, is the Big Bend State Park Ranch property line, which goes all the way to the Rio Grande River. And Highway 170 runs through the southern end of the Big Bend State Park. Anyway, Terlingua is right down here. And there's our campsite. Maybe you can get it to focus. Yeah, at Terlingua. We were right on Highway 70, right at the old ghost town of Terlingua, and Terlingua store, and some other things there in Terlingua. Just down from Kathy's Cozy Cosmic Kitchen. Anyway, Al and I finally found the campsite there, and picked us a campsite and got sort of unloaded and set up temporarily. Then we decided we had a couple of hours of daylight left, so we'd ride some. So we went, I'm going to use my striker as a pointer. We went up here the little ways, looked around some of the stores up there and stuff, and we came back down 170, got on South County Road here, and rode north on it, which is a pretty good just gravel dirt road, well maintained. Went on up here several miles, and then we took the yellow highlighted road here, which was Saltgrass Road or Hermanson's Peak Road. Rode it up all 3 or 4 miles or so, and then we decided to take this Blue Ridge Road here back over, and then head back to Terlingua on it. So we did. Anyway, the road markings were very scarce, having to just go by GPS, which had no names on the roads and stuff like that. Just showed the roads. and looking at the map. Anyway, Alan and I took this little road thinking this was the one we needed to take. And it turned out to be very scenic and challenging. It was a lot of downhill rides going into Terlingua Creek, or Rock Draw branch of Terlingua Creek, which is over here, which we had paralleled coming out of Terlingua. Anyway, we rode this loop back around. It just kept turning and turning and turning, going up and down. We wound up coming back down Saltgrass or Hermanson Road, back down Terlingua Road, not Terlingua Road, but South County Road to Terlingua. And then we got back about 6 o'clock or so. We fixed our foil burgers, got ready for bed, went to bed, woke up the next morning, and James called about 8 o'clock, saying he was in Study Butte, was going to come on out and join us, so he did. Got there in time for breakfast with us. Then we decided we would ride more of the Terlingua Ranch. James had never ridden much of that, so we loaded up and headed out about 10 o'clock, rode up this road, which is Sawmill Road, right up past some of the stores and entertainment centers and stuff there. Rode on up Sawmill Road, which is pretty nice, well-maintained road. Then we started getting down into these switchbacks, down into this creek bottom here. This is where we saw the bullfrog rock, with the eyes were made out of sort of round cactus. I guess it was just a natural deal, but we all thought it looked like a bullfrog. Then we saw the handmade rock house right there in the creek bottom. Then we rode on up Salt Mill Road to Blue Ridge Road again, and rode across to Saltgrass or Hermanson's Peak Road, and then we decided to go on out to ride Hen Egg, across the rock draw that Alan and I had gone down to the day before, which is pretty interesting. Saw some fossils in the rock and stuff like that. Anyway, we went on out to Hen Egg Road. We wanted to go over around Hen Egg Mountain, so we took the east branch of it, went over here, got down in here, and the sign said Hen Egg Road went both ways. We thought we wanted to go that way, so we went up this draw here, and it dead ended. It got pretty unmaintained, and we came back and went down this direction around Hen Egg Mountain right there, which is a pretty prominent deal there. It's 5,000 or 6,000 feet, I think, elevation there. Anyway, we rode over here to this intersection of North County Road and Hen Egg Road. We were planning to come back towards Terlingua on this one, but this had a locked gate right there. There were several other bikes sitting there eating lunch and talking and stuff, so we visited with them a little while. Al and I decided to back track on Hen Egg Road. James wanted to go on up North County Road, hit 118, go up and try to ride around Hen Egg Mountain on some roads we had seen at a distance but couldn't find a way to get there. So he did that, said it was pretty interesting, but it got late in the day and so he didn't do too much exploring. Al and I rode on back Hen Egg Road all the way back like we had gone, and we went out this way. Some pretty wide open spaces. You can see roads all over the place out here. We climbed up, started climbing, and we got up here. We took a turn right there, and I wasn't even sure that was the right turn on my GPS, so I had to look at the map, and sure enough it was. So that was about 2 o'clock. We decided to eat lunch, so we just pulled off the side of the road on a scenic spot and ate some summer sausage and crackers, and then we continued on over this Hen Egg Road to Blue Ridge Road, which is also Tonke Caballo Road that goes along the side of the Big Bend Ranch State Park, but we didn't know it at the time. Anyway, we stopped up here on the highest point we'd come to, which is about getting close to 4,000 feet maybe, and we stopped there and decided we saw this road going on up north up into some mountain peaks. So we said, let's ride that road when we get to this T. So we did. We rode up there. It was 2 or 3 miles up there to this place where there was a house and a brush arbor type lean-to, an outhouse in between two peaks there in this little saddle that the road went through, and the elevation there was 4,150 feet or so. We stopped there and took some pictures, checked out the place. It's very, very scenic because you could see all the way to Big Bend National Park. You can see Santiago Peak, Hen Egg Peak. Way off in the distance, Santiago Peak was way over on Highway 385. Anyway, we also saw another road continuing on from this spot, and it climbed up on a peak. So we decided we would try to get up there. Well, we didn't quite make it to the top. It got really steep and really big rocks, and the going was just almost impossible. So we stopped. Alan laid his bike over when he stopped and sat down on it, and we had to get turned around and come back down. Anyway, we came on back down and followed the Blue Ridge Road, which turned into Tonky Caballo Road right there, I believe, is where it turns into Tonky Caballo, which means something horse road, which follows right along beside the Big Bend Ranch State Park, and also the Solitario dormant volcano, which is over in the Big Bend Ranch State Park. Quite a spectacle to see that. That thing is about 10 miles across. It's an old volcano that is collapsed in the center, and there's roads that go into it and stuff like that, but we didn't know exactly where we were. We were following along this blue range, and I wondered what in the world is that big tall mountain wall there that just went on and on and on for miles. Anyway, we rode down the Tonky Caballo Road, and we saw a water retrieving system there with a tin roof in the shape of a V going down to a cistern and going on down to a water trough down in the creek bed there with a float valve on it. So we had to check all that out. And then we rode on down in the Solitario Hunt Camp area, rode back east on Saltgrass Road, and caught Blue Ridge Road again, rode it back on over to where we had come up this morning on Sawmill Road, rode it all the way back down to our campsite, Terlingua. We got there about 6 o'clock or so, 7 or so, and we started cooking the steaks and the baked potatoes and stuff like that, and James joined us for supper there and told us about his adventures for the day. The next day, we got up, decided since it had a pretty long day the day before, we would ride 170 on up to Lajitas and on up the river road all the way on up to Presidio. We stopped at the Contrabando movie set where they filmed Streets of Laredo, some of it. It was supposed to be the set of Ojinaga, Mexico, and also Dead Man's Walk, and several other movies were filmed there. And then we went on up to Del Rio. Gonna change maps here. Change maps to the Big Bend Ranch State Park map, which doesn't quite show Presidio, so I wrote it in there. We ate lunch and gassed up at Presidio about noon or so. Then we decided to come back out, and we rode on this Casa Piedre Road, which is the main road into the Big Bend State Park. We stopped at the entrance there, took a little break, talked about what we could do, and it was, getting close to, well, it was 2 o'clock or so. Anyway, it's about 17 miles from there to Sauceda, which is the old ranch there, which means the grove of cottonwood trees. That's where the headquarters is, so we decided we were going to go for it, even though it's getting late in the day. So Alan and I headed on out. James was taking a little extended break there, so he came on after us, caught up with us somewhere along in here, and said that he thought it was not a good idea for us to go on into the park that late in the day. You just have to go in and then turn around and come right back out. So, but we come this far, we wanted to go ahead, so Alan and I went ahead. James turned around and went back, and Alan and I continued on slowly. Speed limit's about 25 miles an hour on this gravel, dirt road, sandy road in some spots. We made it on down, stopped at the Cinco Tinajas information kiosk there. Went on down to Sauceda there at the ranger headquarters and went in and talked to them, paid our fees, and it was about 4 o'clock or a little after. Anyway, we decided we had time to maybe ride a little bit of these paved, not paved roads, but maintained roads around the headquarters and just see what we could see there. So we decided to do that, and we went ahead and decided to take this road, which I believe is called the Madrid Road. There's some Madrid Falls down here somewhere, and it's a maintained road slightly, a lot of sand and some hills on it and stuff. We made it all the way down here to they call it the Javelina Pens area, I guess the ranching area. Back up here we passed some cattle pens or sheep pens or something there. But when we turned off, we turned into this creek, which I assume was Javelina Creek, I don't know, didn't have a name, and we wound up riding up the creek bed in pretty deep sand for a quarter of a mile or more. Seemed like a lot more than that. Then we got off of the so-called maintained road and started on the four-wheel drive Jeep trail and followed it around this way, which when they say unmaintained, they do mean unmaintained, but it was not impassable. It was just slow going, first gear, a lot of rocks, hills, some dirt crossings here, and especially over here when we got into this other creek bed and followed it up this canyon. We thought we were doing pretty good till we turned the corner and we saw this humongous hill in front of us, which happens to be called in the tour book King Kong Hill. Didn't know it was on this road. There's no indication there was a big hill here. Anyway, we made it about 3/4 of the way up the hill, and then it turned really steep and rocky with some sort of stair step sections in it. And so we scoped it out, decided finally to do it because it was getting to be about 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun was going down. We didn't have time to go all the way back around here. It would have taken us an hour or more to get around. It had been dark by the time we got down here. Anyway, we decided to go ahead and go up the hill if we could, try to make it we could. Tried to find a way around it, but didn't look like it was too feasible, so we decided to go for it. So we got my bike up first, then we got Alan's bike up to the top. By that time we were just exhausted, running low on water, so we headed on up this way and then on into the Oso loop, which it begins maintained, semi-maintained. Wasn't very good. It was still very slow first gear riding, and we went on up here and caught the main road back around and headed back out of the park. By the time we got here it was dark, and we were running with headlights and auxiliary lights, and we made it all the way back over here to the entrance very slowly, running about 15-20 miles an hour. And we decided to take this shortcut, which is Bofacillas Road. We had not been on it before. It turns out it crosses a couple of creeks and was pretty rough going there, a lot of sand. Anyway, we got to this one down here. We were going along about 20 miles an hour, and I saw the deep sand and I slowed way down, but Alan passed me, went right on into it, and lost control of his bike and took a sharp left turn right into the bank of the road there. That we were down below ground level, and of course the sand stopped him very quickly, but he also ran into a tree that was hanging out over the deal there. But luckily no harm done. We got him going again. Sand was so deep I couldn't even put my kickstand down and it'd hold my bike up. So anyway, we made it to 170, which again, is like 8 o'clock at night or so. We saw a border patrol car go along. That was the only car we saw all the way back to Terlingua until we got to Lajitas. We started seeing some people. but we saw javelina, probably a dozen javelinas crossing the road in front of us. Had to stop real quick a couple of times. We got on back down here to the big hill right in there, I think it is. Anyway, we'd been riding for a good while. It's pretty stressful, and without stopping, and I knew Alan's hand was hurting him. So I pulled off on an overlook, which looked to be fairly level. Well, when I pulled off on it, it's one of the overlooks going up the hill, and at a 15-degree or 15% grade or so, it was pretty unnerving to try to in the dark to find a level spot, or at least a spot where you wouldn't fall over. So we stopped there, and I told Alan not to get off of his bike because he'd fall down. Anyway, we decided after a 5-minute break or so, decided to go ahead, continue on. I took off up the hill, but I noticed Alan wasn't right behind me for a little while. Anyway, he said when he started to take off, he couldn't get his kickstand up on the uneven pavement. It's hard to tell which way is up and keep your balance. So he wound up going back down the hill a little ways in that big lookout area there, overlook area, and then got his bearings and then came back on up, caught up with me. Anyway, we slowly made our way to Lajitas area, and then we made our way on back to Talingua, to our campground. The video camera had bound up, the film had bound up, so wasn't able to use it anymore, so I don't have any film of Sunday. We have some still pictures of Sunday, but we made it on back to, after leaving the camp at 9, leaving Kathy's Cosmic Cafe at 10 or so, we made it up to Fort Stockton about noon. We're going to stop and maybe get a bite to eat, or at least get gas at that time. And when we did, we had car trouble. The van just died, and we knew we had an oil leak from Thursday, and we drifted up, or coasted up to a stop sign, checked the oil there, and it was 2 or 3 quarts low. We added a couple of quarts, drove over to the service station, added another quart. I gassed up the van a little bit too much, and gas was running all under the van and all around me. Anyway, we got that taken care of, and the van started right up and was running fine. We decided to go down to the parts place and get some more oil and ask if they knew a mechanic that could check out why it was leaking so much oil. We thought it was an oil sending unit or a pan gasket. We figured it was the oil sending unit, and it was. Anyway, they knew a mechanic there named Gilbert, 2 or 3 blocks from the AutoZone place there on Main Street there in Fort Stockton. And we got that changed by about 4 o'clock, and we put the analyzer on the, or had Gilbert put the analyzer on it to see what caused it to just die. He couldn't find anything wrong with it, but we still weren't 100% sure, but we decided we would head out of town. So we headed out of town on I-10, going back towards Waco to the east, and we made it fine for about 15 miles, and it just all of a sudden died again. It'd start up, die, start up, die. Anyway, I called Gilbert, and he said, well, he was busy with some other people's situation, for us to try to limp it back to his shop, and we would check on it then. So we figured out that if I held the accelerator at a sort of halfway spot and didn't go up or down on it, it would continue on. Anyway, I think we're about out of film, so I'm going to have to let go now. Bye. These are the still pictures of our Big Bend Dual Sport ride in February of 2011. These are Alan's pictures from his camera, and he takes doubles of everything right at first here. Anyway, then we'll look at my pictures a little bit later after that. This is at Alan's shop area, loading up on Wednesday afternoon. Has his bench racer sitting there. It couldn't go, but it was helping us load up. So same view, a little wider angle view. You can see we had to put the trunk box on the front of the trailer and the cross beam across there to tie the bikes down to. So had pretty good load on the trailer. We had 25 gallons of gas in various cans and bottles in the trunk there. Had 2 5-gallon cans strapped on the back of the bike, as you'll see in the next picture there, in between the bikes. Had some extra oil, some tools and stuff in the van, all of our camping gear. Had the bike strapped down really well. Anyway, Thursday morning, Alan was going to come by my house and pick me up, and there on the front sidewalk where we were loading up in the side doors of the van was this little chicken snake trying to strike at us. So we let him know we didn't appreciate that very much and took care of him. Threw him in the trash, by the way, which was right there by us. And unfortunately, I didn't cover it up. And when Ellen went to put something in the trash Friday morning and take it out for the trash, there was this snake all laid out there and stinking like crazy, I imagine, by that time. Anyway, scared the daylights out of her. I shouldn't have done that, or should have warned her. Anyway, should have covered it up. Anyway, a little side story there on that. Then we continued on out west, getting out into West Texas, starting to see a few mountains here and there. Out close to Ira Ann, we started seeing windmills, and then we saw more and more windmills. And then I think this road is, after we left Alpine, it's 118, I believe it is, heading out. Can't read the sign there, but we were headed down to Study Butte. We did stop in Ira Ann and talked to a lady there at the library and post office about the Chandler Ranch and Joe Beth and Charlene or Charlena Chandler, and we found out where they were and what was going on with them. Had a good visit with that lady, and we continued on down 118, making our way to Study Butte. Got to Study Butte about in Terlingua about 2 o'clock or a little after. Found the place to camp finally after asking several people that didn't know anything about it, including the deputy sheriff. And we set up camp, and then we went for a little ride. Here we are at our campsite. It's just sort of a vacant lot there on Highway 170, right down from the Terlingua store area, ghost town area. We unloaded the bike, set up tents, and decided that we had enough time to ride. As you can see, it's about 4 o'clock or so, so we decided to head out, go up the Terlingua Ranch area. This picture, we didn't take any pictures on Thursday afternoon for some reason, but Saturday morning we decided to ride back up into the Terlingua Ranch area, which is just north of 170 there in Terlingua, and it covers a couple 100,000 acres, 1,200 miles of dirt roads and stuff. Some of them private roads, some of them semi-private. Anyway, we were on the Sawmill road, and we ran across this rock formation, which to me immediately looked like a big bullfrog sitting there. This thing is probably 30-40 feet high across the creek bed there. It has 2 of those ball cactuses like the eyes, and then the belly of it looks like the belly of a bullfrog. So I noticed it when Alan drove up. He said, "Tell me I'm not going crazy. Is that a giant bullfrog over there?" And I said, "Yeah, that's what I thought it was too," and James did too. So anyway, we stopped and checked that out, and then we moved on up the creek bed a little ways further, and we saw this rock house, 2-room house, and we just sort of took a couple of pictures of it and went on up the road. Came back to it later in the day. This is at the intersection of Blue Ridge and Saltgrass or Hermanson Road. We'd stopped to take a break and eat an apple or two, and then we went on up Hermanson Road. This is still that same intersection there. We at the end of Hermanson Road, we ran into Hen Egg Road. We wanted to ride around the Hen Egg Mountain, so we went east on it. And this is a little stopping spot at another T in the road where North County Road and Hen Egg Road intersect. Hen Egg Road stops here, and it becomes North County Road, and it goes to north and south. But the south leg of it had a lock gate on it. Like I said, they're sort of semi-private roads out there, so they didn't want anybody riding up and down the road disturbing their cattle or sheep or animals or whatever, stirring up the dust, tearing up the roads or anything. So anyways, about 9 of us stopped here, 3 groups of 3 riders, and we also discovered a hole in the road right by my bike that I missed putting my kickstand down in by about 2 feet, which would have tumbled the bike down to the ground for sure. Anyways, about the size of a softball or so. Couldn't see a bottom to it, but may have been a washed out area under the road there. Anyway, James decided to continue on up North County Road. As you can see, it goes around the corner here and back up that way, back to 118. And Alan and I decided to turn around and backtrack, go back down Hen Egg this way to and ride some more of the Terlingua Ranch. So we did that. Bunch of nice people at that stop. The guy right there by me with the Army camelback on was real talkative, and this guy was a DPS officer out of Orange. They were all out of East Texas, so a little different terrain for them. So anyway, had a good visit, a lot of talk. Some of them were eating lunch, snacks and stuff. This is Hen Egg Mountain right here. This is the Hen Egg Road we had just come on, and we were fixing to go back on. So Hen Egg Mountain is pretty sizable. I don't know why they call it Hen Egg. I guess it may look like an egg sitting in its nest right here or something. And we continued on out west after we crossed the rock draw again and got up into some higher elevation. We stopped to check directions and stuff on the maps and GPS. We ate lunch here with having some summer sausage and crackers and water. And we took several pictures here. You can see the mountains in the background. Anyway, we followed Hen Egg to the end, out close to the Big Bend Ranch State Park boundary, and then we saw this mountain here with a house or something up on top of it, and it went through a saddle between this peak and one behind me, taking the picture. And it had this neat little rock cabin there that was in very good shape, looked like it was new mortar and everything, like it had just been built. Had a good flue from a stove around here on the side. It had a rain collection system and cistern, and then right behind me taking the picture, or Alan taking the picture, is a brush arbor that was up on the other mountainside. And going up to the brush arbor was this sundial or sun worshiping deal there. Pretty neat looking. These are some pictures from the brush arbor looking back at the Chisos Mountains and Studi Butte, Terlingua back over here, Hen Egg over here, Santiago Peak way back over to the east, way in the distance, probably 30-40 miles away. This is under the brush arbor looking over at the house there, and you can see our bikes. This is the road that goes between the little saddle between the two deals. Elevation here is about 4,150 feet, I think. We took several pictures here. Also, he had bathroom facilities out here between the two building or structures. Looks like he had some sort of piping system there. Maybe that's a vent pipe, I don't know. But he also had some spots where you could put like stakes in or post square tubing or something and build a little shelter around this or something. But that wasn't there. And then anyway, backing up to this picture, I don't know if we got any pictures of it, but right across the ravine there above this, back to the west, there was a peak, and the road went up the peak, so we decided to go up the peak if we could. So and I made it about 3/4 of the way, and Alan made it about half of the way, and we both just came to a stop at the same time. When Alan got to that point, Rock kicked his back wheel out, and he had to lay his bike over, and then he sat down on his bike, laid down on his bike, trying to get up and keep from falling. Anyway, we got that taken care of, got back down that mountain, and went back down Blue Ridge Road, which teed into Hen Egg Road, and went south on it for a few miles, and then it teed into Tonky Caballo Road, and we took Tonky Caballo Road because it looked like it was more interesting and a little bit longer route. Anyway, we found this rain collection site here with about a 20 by 20, 10 by 20 or so pieces of tin formed in a V at an angle, and then it drained down this PVC pipe into this cistern. Then at the bottom of the cistern it went back down to the little creek area right back in there, and when there was water in the system, it provided water for the deer and stuff to drink. Anyway, that thing was totally about 20 by 20, about 400 square feet of surface area. So it probably collected quite a bit of water with the half-inch of rain or so. Anyway, went got back on, I think it was a Blue Ridge Road, they call it, another branch of it, and we were going down a creek bed. We stopped to take a break, and we noticed these real high cliffs right above us, and different rock sediments and sand and dirt and stuff on top, covered on top by these solid rocks and more loose topsoil. So pretty unique setting there. There's another view of the creek bed and the rock formation, and the road across the creek bed here on sort of a concrete type low water crossing, sort of. That's Cecil and me taking a video of Alan. Getting pretty late in the day, as you can see. Here's that rock house we saw earlier on Sawmill Road. We decided to stop and take some more pictures of it. This is the bedroom section of it, I believe, and it has a screen. No, this is the living area there. You can see a place for his TV and VCR and entertainment center, and Xboxes and stuff. It has a screen in window going towards the southwest. You see the sun shining in there. Has no mortar between the rocks, so I bet it's not too weatherproofed. Had some pipes laid across here and some tin and wood and stuff like that laid on top of it, so it did have semi roof on it. The other room, I guess, would be his bedroom, or would have been his bedroom, right back there. And they also had his grave and tombstone here. His name was David Hilton, in loving memory. He died in August of '06. So didn't look like anybody was living there anymore, but the house was still pretty much intact. This is the back side of it where the window was a while ago. He has a little seating area there, and there were a couple of bad pictures here, upside down and blurry. Anyway, Alan had me stand beside it to get a idea. I'm about 6 feet tall with my helmet on and stuff, so the thing was not very tall.